If I show you this picture, can you guess where we are? Difficulty level, medium.
If you have no clue where this is, keep watching, because if you're visiting Tuscany, this might be a spot you want to add to your itinerary, for at least a couple reasons. In this video, we'll also share our main tip for visiting Pisa without the crowds. Almost no one was taking advantage of this, so definitely make sure to save it for when you visit. And lastly, we'll take you to a city we weren't even sure we'd visit but ended up loving. Watch till the end to see the beautiful Airbnb we found deep in the Tuscan woods and how our cats, yes, our cats, reacted to it. So back to this picture, let me give you one more hint if you haven't guessed yet. How about now? We are in Vinci, a picturesque Tuscan village that would almost fade away in the landscape if it weren't for one very famous artist, inventor and visionary sharing its name, Leonardo da Vinci. This could have just been another small anonymous hilltop town, but Vinci knows exactly how to celebrate its most famous resident. From restaurants to street art to public piazzas, every corner has a touch of Leonardo. I mentioned there's at least a couple reasons you should visit Vinci. The first one, you're not just learning about Leonardo, you're surrounded by the same rolling hills that inspired him. The museums are scattered across town, so as you move between them, you are constantly rewarded with those breathtaking Tuscan views. The first museum sits inside a medieval castle, and the views from its tower are incredible. You can literally see the landscape that shaped Leonardo's early imagination. Inside the museum, you'll find interactive models and reconstructions of his inventions, many of which weren't actually built until the 19th and 20th centuries by enthusiasts fascinated with his designs. How interesting that most of the things he imagined were only built centuries later, and he was never able to see them in real life. As fascinated as he was with machinery, Leonardo believed the human body to be the ultimate, most perfect machine. He dissected over 30 human bodies to make his anatomical studies and had quite a few breakthroughs. Certainly, these sketches were critical to his activity as an artist, and we got to see that in the third museum, the painting gallery. This is also reason number 2 why you should visit Vinci, the quality and the intimacy of the replicas. You get to admire incredibly detailed reproductions of Leonardo's masterpieces, including the Gioconda, without the glass, the crowds, or the pressure to move along. Yes, they are replicas, but the experience feels authentic. The colors, textures, and even the brushwork have been recreated with striking precision by Alta Definizione, an Italian company that uses cutting-edge technology and 3D scanning to make these real-life replicas. While the originals are scattered around the world, here you can admire 21 of Leonardo's major works at your own pace. The whole visit feels easy and relaxed, educational without being overwhelming, and for us it was the perfect start to the trip, peaceful and inspiring, because visiting Pisa the next day was a little more hectic. But we found a way to make it surprisingly calm, and since almost no one was taking advantage of this tip, I think you should definitely save it for yourself. Of course, while visiting Pisa, you want to see the Leaning Tower. That's the first thing that comes to mind, and it's so imposing and magnificent that you just cannot ignore it. But Piazza dei Miracoli is actually much larger than just the tower, and while it can get very busy with everyone taking the same photos from the usual angles, we found a simple way to get a more private perspective. By buying a ticket to the medieval city wall, we were able to admire the whole complex from above. There was almost no one else there, so we could take in the view from afar, marvel at the tower, the cathedral, the baptistry, and then explore up close at our own pace. After visiting the complex, we left the crowds behind and wandered through the quiet streets of the old town to find a place to have lunch. We stumbled upon a small cafe, usually frequented by university students, and had a relaxed meal before continuing our exploration. As we walked along the Arno River, the charm of Pisa really came through. The Arno was once the lifeline of Pisa, connecting it to the Mediterranean and fueling its power as a maritime republic. On the riverbanks, small gems, like this little chapel, remind you of the layers of history that have shaped Pisa, from sailors and merchants to students and locals, all sharing the same space. Ship lovers can also visit the Arsenale and the Museum of Ancient Ships. This area, where ships were historically built and repaired, has now become a museum. Check the link in the description if you want to learn more. Even today, walking these streets and along the river, you can feel the legacy of a city that was once a hub of trade, learning, and exploration. All this walking around built up our appetite, and we couldn't leave Tuscany without trying bistecca alla Fiorentina.
We are off to dinner and we chose a really nice restaurant for tonight, one that specializes in meat, so I hope it will not disappoint. And it looks really nice. We've only had bistecca alla Fiorentina once before. It was to die for. We really enjoyed it, so we are very excited to eat it again, and we waited a few years until we came back to Tuscany.
Traditionally, it's made only from Chianina cattle, an ancient breed that's been raised here for centuries, and this dish itself has been around for hundreds of years. It's perfect in its simplicity, a thick T-bone steak grilled rare over charcoal. Fun fact, the name actually comes from a little legend. When English merchants visited Tuscany, they asked for roast beef, calling it beef steak, and over time the Italians turned it into bistecca. We definitely enjoyed ours, and we feel like you cannot visit Tuscany without trying this dish. Our last day in Tuscany was definitely a surprise. The city we almost didn't visit ended up being the most pleasant part of the trip. Lucca is historic, well preserved, and feels really alive. While Pisa felt like a city frozen between its past and tourist crowds, in Lucca we could just walk around and feel part of the city's life. We loved how livable and walkable it is, with lots of shops and restaurants that actually feel authentic and not like tourist traps. While wandering around and checking out a local market, we came across a little gourmet sandwich shop and had one of the simplest but most memorable meals of the trip. They only had a few sandwiches on the menu, all made with fresh, local ingredients right in front of you. We even tried one of their artisanal beers. The bottle looked more like wine than a beer, but it was very tasty and honestly surprised us. We're still thinking about that meal, it was that good. If you ever visit Lucca, this is definitely a place you should try. Lucca is also famous for hosting one of the world's biggest comics festivals, called Lucca Comics and Games. You can see hints of it everywhere, with comic book shops scattered around the city. I'm not really into this genre, but my husband had a blast checking them out. Another amazing thing about Lucca is its medieval wall, the second longest well-preserved wall in Europe, stretching 4 kilometers. Originally it protected the entire city, but now it only surrounds the city center as Lucca grew over the centuries. The wall is elevated and completely walkable, with benches, parks, and even cafes along the way. Since it's quite long, renting a bike and doing a full circle is probably the best way to go. I'd give it a solid 10 out of 10. Lucca really reminded us that when you travel, the most surprising experiences are often the ones you didn't plan. We love the slower pace here, and we were looking for spots that felt true to the cities we were visiting, so Lucca really delivered. Of course, seeing landmarks and checking things off our bucket lists is great, but sometimes the best moments come from just wandering and letting yourself be surprised. That's also why we love the secluded intimacy of our Airbnb, tucked away in the hills, a place we wouldn't have discovered otherwise. It was completely surrounded by woods, about 10 minutes off the main road up a challenging dirt track. The ride may have been a bit tricky and the Wi-Fi mostly didn't work, but the views were a 10. We chose this spot so our cats could come along and enjoy the outdoors too. They are normally indoor kitties who need their daily dose of fresh air, and even they love this pristine little hideaway. A trip for the books, for all of us. I hope you found some value in this video, and if you want to see more of our adventures around Italy and Spain, don't forget to subscribe. The cats would really appreciate it.